least partially an optimist. I understand that given my prior videos, that may be difficult for some to believe. I think we can improve. I believe it is possible to put all these divisive disagreements behind us. Sooner or later, I will make enough videos that hopefully a picture of just how to do this will emerge. Between now and then, I think that it's better to point out what we're doing wrong instead. Having said that, it's probably best not to be dumping on everyone all the time. So let's turn to a couple people who come super close to touching what I think the issue is, praising them where they get it right, in my opinion, and making slight adjustments where I feel it may help us. The DarkHorse Podcast has certainly got a lot of attention and controversy. I watch them because I feel that they honestly attempt to find truth. Whether they are always successful or not is another matter. I wouldn't dream of debating them on biology. Their understanding of it is presumably light years beyond my own. It is, however, when they shift to philosophy, which sometimes causes me to raise an eyebrow. I should point out that the DarkHorse videos are live, and so we should not expect the careful word choice with which you would and do write. So bring it, Bret and Heather. Let's do this.
I think the assumption needs to be that interacting with another person, no matter who they are, that they are equally deserving of respect as you are or as anyone else is.
Yes, people are deserving of respect. With a single caveat, this is absolutely true. Having no prior, hugely negative knowledge of said person is this caveat. Yes, it may sound terrible, but let's look at why this may be important. Knowing what we know about some of history's evildoers, one should probably not respect people they know to be genocidal, immoral, wicked, etc. You certainly can give all the respect you like to some dictators, but I would suggest this may not be the best idea. Also, if I knew one who consistently argues dishonestly and fallaciously, although I may respect them in some other areas, I would not respect their ability to debate, and therefore not respect their opinions nor beliefs, at least until they could show me that they were indeed able to present a decent argument, produce a sound rebuttal, or engage in useful dialogue. With that out of the way, yes, respect people, so long as you don't have a very clear and good reason to not respect them. Something we should all be able to point at and see and perhaps largely agree upon. You can give Pol Pot all the respect you like, but please at least allow me my freedom to not respect him. Sorry, one more bit here that is important. Just because someone may be a horrible person, in one regard, does not mean they are wrong in all regards. Einstein has been said to be a pretty terrible husband, for example.
We are weirdly divided. I think your point from earlier, a few minutes ago, was exactly accurate. Even though we agree overwhelmingly on what world we want to live in for the most part, we have been falsely polarized into camps that cannot see the humanity in the other.
Oh, frustration. Oh, so close. Angelina turns to me, smiles, flashes her eyelashes. Something stirs down under. And then I notice Brad behind me. Sorry, outdated reference, I'm aware. I'm not sure that we have been divided, although I certainly agree that we are divided. I am further not sure if people do agree on the kind of world they want to live in, although I admit that many people seem to have similar endgames. The peaceful endgame of some Muslims is similar to the peaceful endgame of some Christians, which is similar to the peaceful endgame of some humanists, in that they're all promoting a peaceful endgame, but those may look very different from each other. Let's hit that divided part. Yes, we are divided. This should be acceptable without argument, but if you do disagree, I would invite you to check out Twitter, Facebook, or just turn on your TV. Whether the cause of this division is outside of us, as Bret seems to be suggesting, or within us, as I'm trying to point to, is extremely important. I will concede that there are forces in the world today, and for quite some time, that have tried to divide us. Perhaps they've been successful. Perhaps they are not wholly to blame, though. Let's use a simple example. Take a soccer or football match, as you prefer. There is a referee who, in this example at least, wants to keep the match fair. So we have a force, the referee, who is actively trying to produce a result, in this case, a fair match. The players themselves, however, are not fully bound to this. We have seen both fair and unfair matches, which is not completely the fault of the assumed fair intent and desires of the referee. Perhaps one team is filled with dirty players. Perhaps they are a rugby team trying soccer for the first time. Maybe there are team or personal rivalries between the two teams. At any rate, the force acting, which is trying to keep the match fair, is not the only force acting on the fairness of the match. I feel that if the players of our soccer match wanted to be fair, the referee, wanting to be fair or not, wouldn't much matter. We would have a fair match. This is my goal, trying to make the players agree to a fair match. Back to the point. There is a force, or many forces, which indeed seem to be pushing for division. I cannot change the social media logarithms, nor do I have their algorithms. Damn it. The algorithms. Nor do I have the power over the news agencies, nor business practices of large companies, nor the decisions of governments. What I can control is how I respond to them, and to others. I worry that a large part of the division we see can be laid squarely at the feet of lack of knowledge of epistemology, or philosophy in general. If we could teach people how to disagree, how to make good arguments, how to charitably listen, how to ask questions, basically, if we could teach people philosophy, then it wouldn't matter which groups tried to push divisions. The people would see this and stop it. If the soccer players all understood the rules, wanted to abide by them, and were honestly seeking a fair match, then it wouldn't much matter what the referee was trying to do. The match would largely be fair. It's extremely important to know what the cause of the problem is, if we are going to fix it. It would be great if we could stop the forces which are trying to separate us. I'm not sure if we can, but I am all for trying. I worry, though, that even without those forces, we would still have the exact same problem, because those forces aren't the only cause, or perhaps not the cause at all. The cause is us. Due to our tribalism and inability to find truth, we've always disagreed on the best political party, religion, racism, sexism, medical practice, and a whole host of others. I would suggest, sorry, Jordan, we put on clothing before we mow the neighbor's lawn. The lawn is important, but having a nice lawn may not cause Miss Jones to fall in love, perhaps due to a tiny weed whacker. Maybe it's best to focus on the things we know we can fix ourselves, and then move outward to help others.
We would be an absolutely unstoppable majority in a democracy. So we must not be united. We must be forced not to be able to see each other in order not to be so powerful.
Yes, we, if we could ever get there, would be too powerful to let those who presently have control exercise that control. This is where the problem and the solution is. You found the solution, everyone agreeing on the end game. But the problem is, we can't agree on what, how, or why we should get there. Some are interested in politics and have differing opinions with others, which they can't seem to resolve. Groups of people who are divided and who divide themselves based on ethnicity, culture, sex, region, religion, poverty, you name it. How could we possibly get those people to agree? We teach them how to disagree properly. In so doing, they themselves will sort out truth. I have to stop here and mention that I have heard knuckle-draggers mention that this is impossible. How can you get everyone to learn such a thing? Well, mathematics, science, hell, knitting. There was a time when no one knew anything about these topics. Then, after someone figured it out, they started showing others, and those others learned. Some learned well and excelled, pushing the envelope of everyone's knowledge in these areas. Some didn't learn well, failed, and paid the price. Be it in incorrect calculations, houses that wouldn't stand, medicine that didn't work, or sweaters. much like the gold ones with 3 sleeves my grandma used to make for me. Those people either changed to a better understanding of the topics, or, in my grandma's case, started making scarves. Yes, we still have people who do not have a good understanding of these topics. How much do you listen to people who obviously don't understand biology when they're talking about biology? We do not need everyone to immediately share an understanding of epistemology. We only need some who will show others. Those who don't learn this lesson well will be challenged by those that have, just as in all other cases.
Right. So we haven't talked about it in some time, but the Hidden Tribes Report, for example, describes what it calls the exhausted middle, which is this very large majority that are basically in agreement, that aren't extreme on questions of religion. They're not extreme on questions of abortion, on questions of gun rights and gun control. They overwhelmingly agree on the basics.
Careful here. I would agree that there are a large number of people who are not extreme. The problem is, the word extreme is subjective. You're probably using it meaning at the far ends of a distribution. But even if that is correct, remember that those at the ends may very well view those in the middle as extreme, and certainly view the ones at the other end as extreme. As you can probably see, I'm not a big fan of the word extreme. Your views may be extreme to me. Mine may be extreme to you. I'm uninterested in how your views seem. I'm only interested in if they're correct. Labeling views as extreme, instead of honestly investigating them, would have caused many amazing, great people to have not changed the world. Sorry, Mary Curie, your views are extreme. I'm not so sure, Newton. Sounds a bit extreme. Elon? No, not possible. Too extreme. I don't think Bret would disagree here, but I do think it's worth noting.
The NPR listener regards the Fox News viewer as insane, and the Fox News viewer regards the New York Times reader, NPR listener, as if they've lost their mind, and they're both right.
Yes! You are completely correct, and have won the gold sweater. Yeah, sorry, the one with 3 sleeves. This is precisely the problem. Many people in every group, excuse me if I go with tribe, it seems more accurate in terms of psychology, view the members of the other tribe as bad, wrong, crazy, pick your adjective. However, you seem to be suggesting that if Fox News, etc., went away, these feelings of the other group being crazy would go away. If that indeed is your claim, I am far from convinced of it. I fully agree that the organizations you listed promote this divide, and even teach it. I'm not sure, however, that things would change if they stopped or went away. I'm not sure how to make them, or even if it's possible right now. We do need to get those people who come from different tribes to communicate. However, I know you have seen the attempts at this on social media. How does that most often go? Neither CNN nor Fox is there moderating, just people demonstrating their lack of critical thinking, logic, and decent arguments.
Each side has something that it sees with clarity, and then its blind spot contains all sorts of nonsense.
Yes! Each tribe has something that is important to them, and probably even has a better take on a couple issues than other tribes. Of course, there exist tribes which don't, but let's forget about the Elvis is alive tribe. How can we get that tribe to teach the opposing tribes that important idea? I would think we get them both to agree to the rules of the game, and then have them work it out. But we're not playing by the same rules, are we? Fox consistently narrowly uses facts. CNN consistently narrowly uses facts. This is not helpful. The right make fallacies. The left make fallacies. This is not helpful. The right attack people instead of ideas. The left does the same. Not helpful. Yes, their use of these things does teach people to do the same. Not... Well, you get the idea. Monkey see, monkey damn. I think that if we could have a discussion and education about these rules of the game, this could actually be solved. Let me ask a couple of rhetorical questions. How many people over the age of 25, with a driver's license, do you think would self-report as bad drivers? How many people would self-report as being irrational? How many people would self-report as being below average intelligence? We think we're good at driving because we do it. We think we're rational because we think we have seen examples of people being less rational than ourselves. We think we're intelligent because we meet others we see as less intelligent. We think we're good at arguing because we argue and hear what we consider to be bad arguments from others. What if we tested drivers? I don't mean to get a license. I mean like 10 years after they got their license. What if we gave everyone a detailed driving score based on their ability on a number of driving skills? Assuming we use good criteria, which may be very difficult, people would see where they have done well and the areas they maybe should improve upon. They would also be able to compare themselves with others. Having these test results should change the self-reporting of bad drivers to some degree. Take the same idea. What if we were to show people what bad arguments look like? What if we taught people how to have productive conversations? Don't you think that some would change the way they argue? Don't you think at least some would see this divide you're talking about? Of course, not everyone. But then again, not everyone believes in evolution. That doesn't mean we shouldn't try to teach it, right? Finally here, congratulations and keep it up. I feel that the two of you do a decent job, way better than most, at modeling this behavior. This is very important, and I want to thank you for it.
If you think that their worldview has no value in it, that they haven't seen anything right, that actually you could take their worldview and take the inverse of it and that would be correct. If that's the quality of your thinking, then you can't get out of this.
Yes! Bret, you make me say that more than my girlfriend. Sorry, Heather, not trying to steal your man. You're completely correct here, Bret. If one thinks the members of another tribe have the absolute antithesis of truth, they will never come together as a tribe, which I would claim should be the goal. Unity, although I think you're familiar with this notion. Let's talk about why this happens and how to fix it. I'm right. Everyone holds this claim in regards to their own ideas. If it were otherwise, they would not hold the claim. A bit simpler, perhaps. I believe in what I believe. I don't believe those things which I don't believe. Love tautologies. I think I'm correct about the things I believe, or I wouldn't believe them. This, as simple as it sounds, is both the problem and where the solution lies. When people argue, they're trying to convince the other of their belief. Both people are arguing from different standpoints. A side problem here is that they're actually arguing two different points of view, when it is only useful to argue one point of view at a time. However, the more important thing to think about is, what if I am wrong? Remembering that given we always think we're right, and that being right feels identical to being wrong, how can we tell if we're wrong? Instead of assuming we are right, what if we let the other person, whom we think is wrong, explain to us why they think they're right? There are only two outcomes here, and both are positive. I have heard your point of view and evidence. I cannot at this time see any problem with your claims or evidence. Perhaps you indeed are correct. Or two, I've heard your point of view and evidence. I've found many examples of fallacies, and your evidence seems to be insufficient for your claim. Perhaps my ideas are indeed more correct. Let me explain them to you now. Of course, this only really works, well, if we both have understanding of philosophy. Like and subscribe, Dark Horse. I need the numbers. Speaking of which, thanks to all my new subscribers. Examples. John is a supporter of the right. Susie is a supporter of the left. John and Susie disagree about healthcare. John gives his argument about why he shouldn't have to pay for unemployed people or whatever. Susie gives her argument about helping people who are in need or whatever. Here we have John arguing in terms of finance, personal liberty, etc. And we have Susie perhaps arguing in terms of morality and fairness, etc. They're not really having the same conversation. They're only tangentially linked via healthcare. This will most often not work, but is most often what we see. If, however, John lets Susie speak, without advancing his own ideas at all, only responding to Susie, she will either give good points that should slowly sway John, or She will not give good points, which should not sway John. The should here is admittedly an ideal situation. Points that should sway people don't, if that person doesn't understand philosophy. Likewise, points that should not sway people often do, again, mostly because of a lack of understanding of philosophy. In any case, the vast majority of people do not do this. Perhaps this is one of the largest problems. Again, I will certainly admit that media plays a large role in this, and is one of the main focuses of my channel.
Then, if you can see both of those things, then there's somewhere to go. If you can only see half the equation, then the point is, okay, yes, then you will forever be unable to recognize what the vast amount that we agree on before we ever get to the part that we really disagree.
Yep, nailed it again. If you are sure of your belief, you can't see the other side of the coin at all, meaning you're either blind or broke. Sorry, bad joke. Even if the person you are arguing with is demonstrably wrong, you should be able to see why they think that way. If you can see the reason, because they have told you, not because someone else has claimed it, shout out to GQ, then we have a chance to work towards agreement, which is the only thing this is about.
If broadly speaking, and there will be, of course, many people who will disagree with these categorizations, but if the left is about leaving the past behind and moving forward into a future that we haven't yet seen, and if the right is about returning to a past that is imagined to be rosy and perfect and not making the mistakes of progress that goes too fast, and of course that's imperfect at best.
First, love the caveats there. Let's say your definition is correct, although we both agree it is not for many. Although I have great admiration for those who created the system in the US, I'm not sure this is still the best system to use. Let's take a look at why. Tribe A is only interested in moving forward, making changes for what they think is the better. Tribe B is only interested in keeping things the same, which they think is quite good already. Yes, a drastic oversimplification. Apologies. In this case, however, we may very well see Tribe A try to make changes that would end up resulting in negative consequences. And we will also see Tribe A trying to make changes that would end up resulting in positive consequences. Tribe B is forced, in this simplified example, to disagree with all changes. The hopeful result is that Tribe A wins when Tribe B cannot stop them, which should be for the positive consequences. And Tribe A loses when Tribe B is able to stop them, which should be the negative consequences. This at first glance seems to be a decent system, and I applaud those who came up with it. However, and this is just an idea, what if Tribe A were also interested in looking carefully at the changes they want to make? What if Tribe B were interested in making changes as well? What if we forgot about the tribes altogether? What if people voted for people instead of tribes? Perhaps then people would elect those whose ideas align with the majority of the population. That would also mean that people were not forced to choose between Clinton and Trump or Biden and Trump. That may allow people who are not obvious idiots, greedy criminals, and cult leaders, you can decide who is who, to get elected instead. At any rate, as you may be able to see, there are a great many problems in the US and certainly the world. I would never suggest that tearing it all down is a good thing. I'd rather go in the other direction. What if we were trying to build it all up? How would you like to do it? Consider Rawl's veil of ignorance as a starting point. How would you design your island? Let's start there and build up. If indeed we ever get anywhere with that activity, then we can talk about making some changes.
How about both? Like, don't we need both? Of course we need both. We need neither one in isolation.
Yes, yes! Three-way? Just playing. It looks like we're in some form of agreement. Let's not separate based into these tribes, but instead let people speak for what they think is best. Let's have both tribes do both jobs, which should effectively merge the tribes. Wouldn't it be great if we used these ideas everywhere? Not only in politics. What if we stopped calling people these tribal names and instead started listening to ideas? That sounds like a step in the right direction to me. There are other problems, but this sounds like an idea to investigate at least a bit more.
In other words, if you think about the way complex systems, complex adaptive systems that actually maintain stasis work, your temperature isn't wildly fluctuating. You don't get a fever, right? And then the system that, then sheds heat, kicks into high gear and you become so cold you can't function, right? It's not like that. The point is it's a very narrow modulation that keeps you so close to the optimal temperature, or at least the important parts of you so close to the optimal temperature that you function very well. And the point is our system is sort of reactionary in both directions, right?
Good example, and yes, I agree that it's exactly what is happening now. It is my hope that some of the ideas you two have expressed in this video may help in this regard. Thank you.
Anybody who thinks their side of the right-left divide is correct is wrong, right? It is the tension between them that allows you to navigate in some useful way. And so that's sort of like, entry into the adult conversation is, do you recognize that it's a tension between the instinct toward progressivism and the instinct to preserve that which functions, that actually makes the system work and get better?
Love it. And would alter and simplify it a bit for you. It is fair, honest, truth-seeking disagreement which improves people, ideas, and societies. The problem I keep running into, and indeed making videos about, is that this is not happening. I'm of the opinion that this can't happen until the people who are arguing learn how to argue. I'm quite obviously of the opinion that this is not the current state of affairs. It seems as though you two may agree to some extent at least.
We've lost the instinct. We've lost even the belief in the loyal opposition. Yeah. Both sides are so busy painting the other as detestable and beneath contempt and unworthy of dignity or whatever it is, that we are watching some kind of a psychosis.
I agree that people have lost the instinct or belief in the loyal opposition, but I do not think that this is exactly the problem. I think the problem is that people have not been taught the ability to be a loyal opposition, or indeed see that ability in others. We do not have this ability simply because we have not been taught this ability. I'm not sure if this is some kind of psychosis. A severe mental disorder in which thought and emotions are so impaired that contact is lost with external reality. I rather think it's more akin to any other subject you would care to name. Let's go with synchronized swimming this time, just to mix things up a bit. We could certainly say that those who perform terribly in synchronized swimming lack the instinct or belief in this sport in some ways. That is absolutely correct. However, if we made sure that all those who want to swim in synchronicity were aware of how this sport is scored, then I would expect scores to improve. Saying that these poor synchronized swimmers suffer from psychosis is probably not going to help them become better synchronized swimmers. It's probably going to get them overly medicated, which, if we were to leave this example and get back to your point, I don't know if medicating whatever large part of the population who don't argue well would help solve any problems. It would, however, make me enjoy scrolling through Facebook posts more. Just saying. At any rate, I worry that ascribing mental illness to a large part of the population may not be helpful in solving the problem. Unless, of course, that is the actual problem. I am, again, though, far from convinced it is. Shout out to DarkHorse Podcast for having open, honest dialogue about a number of important issues. I really appreciate what you guys are doing, even if I don't always agree with your conclusions. Keep fighting the good fight. And remember, chin down, hands and shoulders up.